Welcome back to Lower Lap Time, everyone. I hope you guys are doing well. Favorite track this week. So super excited to start to talk about Monaco, get into the technical details. Of course, we will get onto that in due course. Who have we got in the chat today? Kayla says, hello, there might be rain. Ooh, not according to my forecast, but I did see it raining on Monday or Tuesday, I believe. So yes, I guess some humidity is in the air. Moime says, poor Ferrari, they already have problems with the one. I'm assuming that one being problems with the car or the team or otherwise. Yes, there are a lot of problems at Scuderia Ferrari. Even the radio messages towards the end of that race, Hamilton saying, just leave me to it, Ricky, I got this covered. Ricky in his ear saying, you know, as a race engineer, they tell the gap to the car in front. I think he said 1.8 to Piastri, 2 laps to go. Ricky, Lewis has got 2 eyes. He can see the gap to the car in front. You don't need to tell him, mate. Just leave him to it. Experience, experience, context and empathy and communication. That's all you need to be able to do as a race engineer. So hopefully Ricky squares that up and we can have a Ferrari on pole. I'm going to get on to why I think they'll be strong this weekend as well. If you guys saw in that little introduction, there was 4 crashes at the start of that video before I just reeled off a few of the guys who had won that Monaco Grand Prix and how many times they had won it. Someone in the chat, someone, the very astute amongst you, tell me what those 4 drivers have or had in common around Monaco. I'll be curious to see who gets it first and what you guys come up with. While you guys answer that in the chat, I just wanted to give you a quick update to the members program. I added a few extra things in there. I started a new Discord server. It's a private Discord community for the Lower Lap Time members, even just the lowest tier, not the champion level, just the member level. So we can converse in there, talk about race results, talk about technique. I'll be in there from time to time as well, of course. And the other thing I added was discount on coaching products on my website. If you are a member of the YouTube channel, you get 10% off anything you want on the website with a discount code in the perk instructions section there as well. A bit of housekeeping, as always, if you have a burning question, give me a super chat. That's the best way to probably get my attention during the stream. Otherwise, I'll give priority, like I say, to members, of course, or else we're going to do like a bit of a short Q&A at the end of the live stream as well. All right. Did anyone get it in the chat? It's taken a while for your messages to come through. Let me see. I'm just having a read here. If anyone got it. No one so far. I'm just scrolling down. No kids. Johan Feenstra, no kids. They had balls of steel. They were with different teams. Come on, guys. Think. It's these dramas, guys, with these guys. All right, let me explain to you what they had in common. So they were Michael Schumacher, Nico Rosberg, Sergio Perez, and Charles Leclerc. All 4 of them very suspicious Monaco qualifying crashes or incidents at the end of their Q3 runs. You'll recall Michael Schumacher 2006 at the Rascas, that little lock-up, whatever. He was on provisional pole and went on to take pole that weekend. Nico Rosberg, down the escape road at Mirabeau, dodgy Nico, that was questionable. He got away with that. He managed to trick the stewards in that case. You're not tricking me, Nico Rosberg. That was, I could see the steering movements that were going on there. That was all you, but, no lack of respect. I got plenty of respect for Nico, notwithstanding that that little cheeky off. Sergio Perez, what's the corner after Mirabeau? I'm just going to bring up my track map quickly. Sergio Perez did this in 2022, I want to say, was it? Where was that corner? Portier. Sergio Perez at Portier, turn 8. I'll show you guys on the track map just quickly as well. It was over here. Perez, throttle. And that's when Max said, come on, Checo, I think they asked him to let him through towards the end in Brazil. And Max was like, nah, I owe you one. And the 4th one was Leclerc. Now, Leclerc was the only one, and this is just my opinion, Leclerc was the only one who I thought didn't do it on purpose. I wouldn't put it past Charles Leclerc, a Formula 1 driver who wanted to win Monaco. I wouldn't put it past him to do it on purpose. But just the scale of the crash, I don't think he did. And anyway, it meant that he couldn't start from pole position. Anyway, such was the damage to that car. So if you did get that and you were thinking that, or you were along those lines, Good on you. But that was the little clue there with those 4 drivers who crashed. I'm pretty sure Schumacher, Checo, and Rosberg, for me, that was clear as day. Leclerc, I'm not sure. That could have been an accident. Okay, special for this one. As you guys know, we're doing this live stream to preview the race. I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about how to drive the circuit, the mentality to perform, how you build a weekend in Monaco. We're going to talk about all that. We've got the pre-race show as well. I just want to dissect qualifying with you guys. We'll have a bit of a Q&A, something less technical, something less formal or informative, let's say. Pre-race as well. Same time, same place, Sunday. So if you can join me there for a drink or something, that would be great. Like I say, special weekend. And why is Monaco my favorite track? Well, I think it's where the street circuit rule was born and is most applicable. Again, I'm going to talk about that in the mentality section, but street circuit rule and Monaco, like they're best friends. You need to build and put together a weekend if you're going to have any chance of success come Sunday, because qualifying is approximately equal to a race win. If you stick it on pole, that's as near as it makes no difference, the race win. And it's my favorite track. I used to race in the sim and I designed my own custom helmet in the sim and then got it painted in real life. And that became my helmet. I'm going to show it to you guys now on the channel. I don't normally like to show it off per se, but here it is. And I'll talk you guys through it. So the theme of the helmet, sorry, I have to put it in and block out my head. Unless I can get both of us in the shot. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. Anyway, so the theme of the helmet is Monaco, of course. It's got the blue, that light blue, the water blue color. And yeah, hopefully, you know, that kind of speaks for itself. I took inspiration from Kimi Raikkonen's 2005 helmet. I think he had Kimi with his name across on this like band, and I quite liked the retro look of that. So that's why I went for that band on the top. And like I went for blue, gold, and silver because I thought blue, gold, and silver, like surely they're the colors of Monaco, right? And I wanted actually some prismatic flake in here, which is a diamond like, gives a diamond like color. And I'm not sure if the camera will be able to pick it up, but there is that prismatic through here. Shout out to Helmut in New Zealand for painting this helmet. It's lovely. So gold and silver ribbon. I kept it fairly simple. I don't want to muck around. And my nationality is on the top. So they are Australia with the Southern Cross and Italy, of course. The RI logo in gold and silver. There's like a carbon wing at the back. I don't know if you guys can see that. If the camera's picking it up, but that's carbon fiber at the back, the like the spoiler there. Can you guys see that? And yeah, I'll give you guys a close-up shot of the Monaco painting. So that's the city of Monaco, and it's been painted into the helmet, which I think is awesome. And like I like to rock it with a black visor because I feel like black visors they show off the helmet a little bit more. You know, I feel like they give the paintwork a little bit more. Yeah, I feel like they show it off a little bit more. If I was to put a blue visor on it, it might take away from the painting of the helmet, if that makes sense. So that's my helmet. So I hope you like it. It's a Monaco special. And just on that point, I feel like the drivers should only have one special. Now, I don't like it when they bring out a special for the home race, special for Monaco, special for the team race, special this weekend. It's very hard to keep up with identity. Like I like that Ayrton Senna just had his helmet and you knew it from a mile away. Whereas Sebastian Vettel, what's his helmet? Yeah, we know the most recent one, but all those disco balls at Red Bull, for me, it's not as iconic. You know, you've got to create an icon and have your helmet be your helmet and then do a one-off special for... what I'm saying is I believe the drivers should only be given one chance to do a one-off special, and they have to pick whether that's their home race or Monaco or their team's home race or some other place close to their heart where they can do a one-off. But then I think it respects tradition, it respects history, it creates identity. We value the special helmet a little bit more. And I think it makes more sense instead of everyone chopping and changing. Oscar's got a new helmet this weekend. I didn't really care. It's not as good as this anyway. So there you go, Oscar. This is what good looks like, my friend. Hello from Perth. Okay, so I thought I'd share that with you. It's my Monaco special helmet. Monaco is close to my heart, and I love it. Love the water, love the lifestyle, love the the track. Obviously, we're going to get onto that as well. All right. Let's take a quick look at the weather. Sorry, you guys have been saying in the chat that there's going to be rain. This is the latest weather that I have. Bring it up on the screen here. This is the latest weather that I have. So yes, Thursday is today and is raining apparently. But look, it's predicted to move and stay away. How do you know that? Well, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday are all dry. So it's just here. Don't expect we're going to get rain. I wish, I hope, but I don't think so. Kind of Imola conditions or a little bit cooler. So that's what we're looking at. All right. What are the implications of that? Well, we've got the C6 this weekend. You know, we've got the 2-stop mandate. We're going to talk about that as well. I just feel like, you know, there's no story here for me. Now, look, just to confirm as well, there's been a lot of chat during the week about McLaren and what they're doing with their tyre life. And I feel like everyone's got it wrong. You won't be surprised to know that I feel that way. But this is just a good car with good front grip that can just look after its front tyres. And everyone keeps pointing the lens at either phase-changing materials, either piezoelectric things in there, piezoelectric currents trying to generate temperature, or otherwise. And also, I think the mistake they're making is looking at the rear of the car. Do not look at the rear of this McLaren. Look at the front of the McLaren. The thing's got front grip for days, and that's largely responsible for its lap time. The longer the corners go, like the China long turn one, the McLaren is a machine into that corner. So that's where they could got good front grip and they can look after their front tires, and that's it. Nothing else. I don't see a story otherwise. I don't see a story on the rears, and I don't see a story on the track temperatures, and I don't see a story on the compounds. I don't see a story in the phase changing materials. I don't see a story in the piezoelectric stuff. It's got good grip. It's been designed well. The front grip of the car. The more front grip you have, the better you're going to look after your front tires. And the front tire, the front grip, is the holy grail of lower lap time. All right, let's talk about driver's mentality. Now, I'm not going to do anything specific for each of the drivers or one driver for this weekend. I think they all need to do this. If you're Charles Leclerc, you should build yourself a weekend. If you're Max Verstappen, you should build yourself a weekend. If you're Franco Colapinto, you must build yourself a weekend. If you're Liam Lawson, you should build yourself a weekend. If you're Yuki Tsunoda, you need to build yourself a weekend as well. So what does that actually mean, like build yourself a weekend? Well, let's jump over to the whiteboard. I'm going to explain to you how you build yourself a weekend and how you go about winning the Monaco Grand Prix, because it is as much about your mentality going into the weekend and your qualifying as it is about the race and everything else on Sunday. So let's bring up the whiteboard. We're going to grab a new page here. So bear with me, and I'm going to tell you the mindset for everyone, driver's mentality, going into the Monaco Grand Prix weekend. Monaco, this is how you win the race, guys, and I've spelt it incorrectly. I can't do two things at once. Give me a sec. Okay, here we go. Monaco. Okay, so this is where it starts. Now, pole position is approximately equal to the race win. So your eyes, therefore, are not here on the win. That's wrong. Your eyes are here on pole position. How do I get this? If you're Max, you need to do this. If you're Leclerc, you need to do this, because pole is approximately equal to the win. So that's where all my focus is. Now, how do you get pole position? Well, you need confidence. You need a good car setup. You need to know everything about the track. You need to have tried a lot of things in practice. And crucially as well, I think you need to spend a lot of time on the qualifying tyre. If you see these guys in practice tomorrow, running around on hards, doing long runs, getting data for the engineers, garbage, 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 garbage. I'm not interested in the hard tyre. In fact, I would barely touch it all weekend until the race. I would bring as many soft compounds as I could, and then and mediums as well, and would focus on cleaning up the track in the first session and staying alive. And FP2 and FP3, I'm working on light fuel and I'm working on soft compound tires. So that's where a lot of my work is going to be done. So I'm going to write that down here. These are the key things: light fuel and the soft tire. Whether it's the soft or the, whether that's the C5 or the C6, I don't really care, to be honest. But I think the light fuel, setting up the car for light fuel. Again, I just want to highlight to you guys, I do not care about the long run pace of the car. If the tires fall apart, I don't care. And I'll just react to whoever boxes. My eyes are here. You know, if this is you, right, your eyes are here. Pole, that's all you're worried about. And how do you get that? Practice this. So we're going to talk now about how you build confidence during the weekend as well. So I'm going to draw a little graph for you. Let me get rid of some of this beautiful drawing for a sec. I'm going to draw for you how you go about fighting and competing for pole position during the weekend. Okay, so 2 axes over here. This is time, right? This is FP1. This is FP2. This is FP3. This is quali. And this is race. And on this axis, crucially, confidence. This is how you're going to get pole. It's the most important thing. Now, where you're aiming for is peak confidence in qualifying. You're aiming for peak confidence in qualifying. That's what we're aiming for, guys. Sema, I love this whiteboard. How good is the whiteboard, eh? Like, it's a genuine asset. Yeah, I'll bring up your question. T, long runs don't matter as much, really. When the race, you spend a lot of the race in traffic. Exactly, it doesn't matter. So you guys are on the same page here. You want peak confidence in qualifying, but how you get there is very important. You need to take the path, the straight line path, and you need to build on session by session. You need to complete FP1. Sorry, that should be here. You need, I've totally botched it. That should be there. Okay, so you need to complete FP1 and make it to this point, tick. That's some confidence. You've got some data, you've got some knowledge, you've cleaned up the track, you went around, had a look around, did a few laps, happy days, played with your brake balance, set the car up a little bit, cool. You're not doing anything special, you're not trying anything special at this point. You're literally just getting comfortable, getting the muscles working, getting the muscle memory, trying to hit your braking points, trying to feel how much grip is out there. FP1 done. FP2, now you might do what I said before. Start to work with a little bit less fuel in the car, start to work on the softer compounds of tyre, and really try to understand how the car feels in this session in qualifying. Remember, this is your most representative session because it's the afternoon session on Friday, and it's going to be the afternoon on Saturday where your assessment is. That is, FP2 and qualifying are friends, right? They're the same time in the day, same conditions, same everything, okay? FP3, it's really important that you get the mentality back at FP1. So we go back here. FP3 and FP1 are friends. So again, dusty track, it's in the morning, it's had a bit of wind overnight. Who knows what's been going on there overnight? Just get back out there and do the same thing as FP1. Get the muscles warm again, clean the track up, blah, 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 build the confidence, get familiar with everything again, and just get back in the seat. And then what you need to do is not make a mistake, crucially here in FP3, and jump up to peak confidence in qualifying. And we said before, qualifying is approximately equal to a race win. So if all you need to do is just move across to the race and just claim that position where you are. Now, let me explain to you why the street circuit rule exists and why, how impactful a crash or a little hiccup in practice can be. So let's say this is you in red. So you jump up to FP1, you complete the session, cool. FP2, you complete the session, happy days, tick. So you've done Friday well, everything's good. You come out in FP3 and try to continue on the same path that you did, and what happens? You make a mistake. So your confidence takes a drop. And now from there, you've got qualifying after that. So it's actually really hard for your confidence to come back up and meet this point in qualifying. It's almost impossible. What's more likely to happen, if I just bring that back so you guys can see that. I'm a little bit of a noob. Go back. Oh, it's made it small for me. Give me a sec. Yeah, can I make it big? There we go. Get this thing bigger. Okay. Sorry about that. So what's more likely to happen is if you make a mistake in FP3, you're never going to make it to that position. You're probably only going to find the confidence that you had back in FP2. Now, the difference in lap time across here is huge. This is the difference between a 1 minute 10.0 and a 1 minute 10.5. That's all it is. It's just this, the confidence piece. So I wanted to call that out to you and show you how you build a weekend. What's the mindset for FP1? What's the mindset for FP2? What's the mindset for FP3? And how do you actually reach and achieve peak confidence come qualifying. That's the most important thing. So keep an eye out for this during the weekend. Yes, you're going to have that guy that sticks it in the wall along the way, Friday or Saturday morning, and just follow their weekend, particularly if it's close between, let's say, the McLarens, for example, and they're competing for pole, and they're close all weekend, but then one of them just has a little lock up and damages the front wing a little bit. It's not the damage that's the problem. It's here. It's the confidence, because you go into qualifying thinking, oh, I made a mistake. Am I good enough? Am I going to get pole? Am I really at one with the car here? All that self-doubt starts to come in, mate. That's worth lap time. That's not going to pay you come qualifying. So it's just important you build your weekend. The person who wins has done a good job of building themselves a weekend. I hope that makes sense, guys. And again, sorry for my clumsy whiteboard antics. I'll share with you an example now of mentality that didn't go so well in 2018. Max Verstappen. Max knows this now, but he didn't know this in 2018. And I'm going to share with you what happened in 2018. So check this out as your example. So this is 2018 results, and I'll zoom in, don't worry. Practice 3. And Daniel Ricciardo topped the session on a 1 minute 11.786. Max Verstappen was second in this session. FP3, remember, 1 minute 11.787. That is 1,000th behind. But here we go. Max has only done 14 laps and Daniel's done 23. Why is that? That's because Max stuck it in the wall in practice in that session, guys. And I'm going to show you, I'll bring up the pictures now. This is Max Verstappen in 2018 FP3. This is what happened. So yes, he was quick, but look what happened here. Big crash in the swimming pool chicane. And this damages your confidence. As it turns out, they couldn't actually repair this Red Bull, but I can guarantee you that no way Max will be competing for pole position after a crash like this at the swimming pool. So it was a clumsy one, an unnecessary one. Yes, he was trying hard, but this was a younger Max, you know, before he'd won champions, before he got professional mindset, professional mentality. I certainly don't expect Max to be making those sort of mistakes. He knows now what it takes to win. Daniel taught him a free lesson that weekend. And then we fast forward to qualifying. Have a look at this. These are the qualifying results in 2018. No Max Verstappen to be seen. Daniel Ricciardo took pole on a 10.8. He went on to win that race. And Vettel, Hamilton, Raikkonen, there's no Max. So presumably they couldn't rebuild that car in time, or there was some other damage to it. Again, that's another reason why you don't want to stack it in the wall in FP3. Very, very, very important, that FP3 session. Keep an eye out for that. Now, the other thing I wanted to call out to you guys was your first run in qualifying in that Q3 session, or even in any of the sessions, is very important. You need a lap time on the board, because you never know when, like we said at the start of the stream, a Nico Rosberg, a Sergio Perez, a Charles Leclerc, or a Michael Schumacher is going to stick it in the wall and ruin your second lap. Max on the radio in 2024, he's like, this was the lap, man. I was on the pole lap. That's not good enough, Max, because you didn't do it when you had the chance to do it. And what I'm highlighting to is you might only get one chance to put a lap together in Q3. That lap needs to be a good lap. So Q3 is the time now to just give everything you have, right? All that confidence and building a weekend has to go out the window once you've made it to Q3. Of course, you're competing for pole. You're competing for approximately the race win. You've got to go for it. And so an accident in Q3, like I can forgive. An accident in FP3 is just dumb. Not necessary. So you've got to know, as per Ayrton Senna, one of the words of wisdom, you've got to know when to give everything you have and when to keep everything you have. Keep everything you have in FP1, FP2, FP3, and give everything you have in qualifying. So I hope that makes sense. And that's the mentality for everyone this weekend. And I'm looking for that. I'm like, who's going to stick it in the wall, right? Will it be a Colapinto in the wall? Will it be a Sonoda? Will it be someone, Sema? Or a Colapinto? Exactly. So this is where the value of the driver, coach, and mentor. This is mentoring now. This is not anything to do with driving technique. This is an approach to the weekend that all the drivers are going to need to have to be able to have any chance of competing come qualifying. Now, I know we've spent a lot of time on qualifying, but it's going to be the highlight of the weekend. Hence why we're going to have a live stream afterwards. Okay, cool. I'll take a quick question now just because I saw it on the screen. Barra, Do you think if a driver boxes in the first 5 laps and then drives in clean air, they could have a chance of a podium? Yes, though the difference in 5 laps of tyre life might not be heaps. So yes, it's possible. But then you're also going to be running out of tyres. But yeah, then the track position will help you. I get it. Yeah, but the difference, I don't know what let's say you start on the medium or the hard. What's 5 laps worth of difference? It's something, but it's not heaps. And then you really might run out of rubber. Like we got the softest compounds here this weekend. You really might actually run out of rubber. But it's possible. I'm not sure. Yes, I guess so. I guess you're right. I just haven't thought about it enough to think what are the eventualities, what can happen. So yeah, maybe after you wouldn't want to do it on lap 1 because then you've got a 1 lap tire offset. That's not enough. So you might want to do it after, 5, 6 laps, bring the car in, get some clean air. You've got nothing to lose anyway at that point. What are you going to finish P12? Like who cares? You might as well come in and do something like that. So actually, yes, good point. I guess we'll see that sort of stuff happening. We'll get onto that a little bit later in the strategy section of this live stream. So let's talk about the reg updates now that you mention it. I'll bring them up the screen. We will read them out word for word, verbatim. All right, hopefully you can see that on the screen in front of you. It says, for all races except the race in Monaco, unless they have used intermediate or wet weather tyres during the race, each driver must use at least 2 different spec of dry weather tyres during the race, at least one of which must be the mandatory dry weather. Great. For the race in Monaco, however, each driver must use at least 3 sets of tyres of any specification during the race. Unless they have used intermediate or wet weather tyres during the race, each driver must use at least 2 different specifications of dry weather tyre, at least one of which must be a mandatory dry weather race tyre specified as designed. They're going a long way about saying you need to pit 2 times and you need to use 3 different types of tyre, which must be different sets. Unless the race is suspended and cannot be restarted, failure to comply with these requirements will result in disqualification of the relevant driver. So big penalty if you don't adhere to this. And for all the ones except Monaco, if the race is suspended, then you'll get 30 seconds for each pit stop that you didn't make. So that's the new rule for this weekend, guys. There has to be 3 sets of tyre used. For example, a wet, a hard, and a medium. Or a medium, a hard, and a hard, I guess. You have to use 2 different spec of dry. Yeah, but they've got to be independent sets, right? Now, I've got my thoughts on this, guys. Look, I've got a couple of thoughts I want to share with you. Firstly, why... I understand why Monaco, because they're trying to spice up the race. But what about the one stop that we had in Imola with Max? What about the Japan, how that race was so kind of dry and didn't have enough action? What I've always said is like all of the races, you should have to use each type of compound of tyre because I think that spices up a bit of a lottery in the race. Imagine in Japan, you had to use the soft, the medium, and the hard. Then it's a 2-stop race, of course. And you just get to see the different characteristics of the cars at different times on different tyres. And it really makes a difference now if you start on the medium, for example, because then you've got to go soft hard or hard soft. And if you start on the soft, you've got to go medium hard. And it just at different points in the race, you're going to get drivers on different compounds of tyres. And I think that would make for more exciting racing. I think they should do that as standard, right? Just forgetting the Monaco weekend for a second. Now, to introduce a 2-stop here in Monaco, in one of the most dangerous congested pit lanes with these big, heavy, clumsy dinosaur Formula 1 cars, I understand when you want to spice up Monaco, but it's probably not the place. Like, Monaco has a rich history, and our expectations as fans of Monaco, remember, happiness is expectations minus reality. Our expectations are that, of course, it's going to be a bit of a slow race and a slow burn. We expect that. But we don't expect Suzuka to be a garbage show. So that's where happiness is expectations minus reality. We expect Suzuka to be a good race. And that was a disappointing race, right? So that's where I think it should be the soft, medium, hard, use all times, all tracks, always. And Monaco, okay, fine, just leave it. If that's the rule, just leave it. But doing a special 2-stop for Monaco in one of the most congested, dangerous pit lanes to try to spice up the race. You guys tell me in the chat what you think, but they're my feelings. I just think we're asking for trouble. Imagine how many cars are going to be coming in and out of there, like unsafe releases. it's not just about the penalty now of unsafe releases. It's about it being an unsafe release at this point, like the actual safety of the release. So I don't think that Monaco needs touching, because our expectations are that it's a qualifying show and we have it because it's the Wimbledon of Formula One, and it's just, we love the event, we love it. You know, everyone has a drink and it's nice, and it's Monaco and it's history and it's Senna, and it's all of that. It's about, even the driver who won the race has done a good job to just do 72 laps and keep it out of the wall. We don't need to see overtaking in Monaco. We need to see overtaking in Suzuka. So why don't we sort that out first before we worry about Monaco? There's a question. So that's my thoughts on the whole Tyre situation. A couple of questions coming in now. Let me bring them up. Hi, low lap. Do you think it is beneficial for people to get their 2 pit stops out of the way at the start of the race? Yeah, we had that question about 5 minutes ago. Yes, if you're outside the points, why not? Just pit early, cruise up to the back of the field if you can, and then try and, you know, sit there while they make their stops, and then you make your stop. And yeah, there is a case for that. Yes, without thinking too far into it, I'm sure that's what some of the midfield teams will be thinking. Yeah. James B, no, it'll still be boring, even with the 2 stop. Boring, okay, but I hope it's safe. That's all. Just with all these big cars being released in the pit lane and them all coming in double as much, hopefully everything goes okay. All right, take a quick drink, and then I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the circuit, how to drive it, how to set up the car for it, and so on. All righty. Whiteboard time. A lot of you guys like this section of the live stream, and I'm glad to hear so. Let me go to the whiteboard, and we'll bring up the track map and see what's going on here. Where are we? It's going to be here. Harry, I'll just take your question while this is loading. How important are the driver aids in the car, such as differential adjustment and brake balance? All right, I'm just going to correct your vocabulary for a second there. Give me a sec. I'll come back to me. Driver aids is short for driver assist, being traction control, stability control, anti-lock braking system. We don't have these on the car anymore. There are no driver aids. So that's incorrect vocabulary. Driver tools, different story. Yeah, engine braking, brake balance, brake migration, brake shape, differential, entry, mid, exit. Yes, we have driver tools. I'm going to be talking about the driver tools when we go over the track map together now. But driver aids / driver assist do not exist anymore. Driver tools and rotation tools do exist. Just keep that vocabulary in mind as we talk about this. All right, I'll bring your question down. Tyre water, yeah. Okay, here we go. So let's get on to the track map. Okay, I'm going to tell you guys everything you need to know about this track, how to drive it, how to be quick here, and some of the focus areas. Let me get my red pen out so I'm ready to go. All right, so we head over the pit straight. I guess the first thing to keep an eye out for is the pit lane exit actually feeds you in some way, shape or form, like in the way of the cars. Like the racing line down here also interacts with the pit lane exit. So just be aware of that. Like if you're cruising down here, I mean, it's hard, it's easier said than done, but there is the chance that a car's going to come out and meet you in your braking point. There's a bit of a crossover between here and here where these big dinosaur F1 cars, you know, there's the potential for contact in this area. So that's my first call out as we come into Sandoval. Apologies for my French, guys. I'm not going to be able to pronounce Beau Rivage or Massenet, how it's meant to be pronounced. Someone can correct me in the chat. That'd be good because I want to pay respect to this track. So that's the first call out as you come down the pit straight. Now breaking into here, it's in a strange spot. There's a bit of a dip as you go down here, and then it's a bit bumpy, and then it starts to go uphill a little bit as well. So if you're standing here and you look side profile, or you're standing here, it's like the track sort of comes down a little bit and then goes uphill. There's a bit of inconsistency in braking there. It's a bit uneven. The road surface is not so like straight, if that makes sense. So again, this is the side profile. This is the ground. and it's not straight, right? It's just got a bit of character to it. So what does that mean? Well, progressive braking, number one, that's going to be your best friend. So brake traces that don't look like that, brake traces that look more kind of progressive, because you want to introduce the car to what's coming next. You want to brake progressively, push the brake pedal on and come off the brake pedal, trail brake into the corner. But some of your friends into turn one are going to be brake balance to the rear, engine braking up, and smash the downshifts as well, so you can take advantage of that engine braking. So downshift nice and firm is very important. And try to take some of this curb here at turn one as well. Anything you can do to shortcut this corner and get a straighter exit as you go up the hill is going to be very important. These are the sort of things that I'm thinking. Now, this is very different to the Chinese hairpin, where you're tearing down the back straight at 330 kilometers. There's downforce for days, and you've got to get the car stopped quickly. In that case, yeah, the brakes come on very hard. You trail off as you approach the corner because, like, different condition. You don't have those bumps. There's a little bit more grip. It's just there's more grip, so you can hit the brakes. Here, you've got to be progressive on, downshift quickly, and trail out and just keep it smooth. I don't think there's actually heaps of time per se in turn one, more of a place where you can damage the car or ruin the lap, as opposed to here. Now, Max did a God tier first sector, final sector not too long ago. That's where the lap time is. It's all down. I think most of the lap time can be won here, and I think it's here, to be honest. I think this is a really important. This is where Max crashed, by the way, in 2018. This is a really important part of the track. I think to back as well, to some extent, there's lap time there. I think for most of it, though, you've just got to be clean. A clean lap is a quick lap around Monaco. Don't mess it up. That's my tip. So how you can not mess it up is progressive braking, downshift. Whenever you don't have braking capacity, that's when you want to turn to your tools. That's when you want to turn to your friends. Hey, engine braking, help me out here. Like, help me stop the car. Brake balance, to the rear or migrating to the rear. It's very common actually to see a double lockup into here. That is a lockup of the left front, this one, and a lockup of the right front as well. And a double lockup is just indicative of really low grip. So keep an eye out for double lockups as well into turn one. Low grip being cold tires, cold track, cold brakes, hard compound tires, low track temperature, wet. Yeah, double lockups are very indicative of low grip, and you generally see that into turn one as well. So keep an eye out for a double lockup, which means just things just aren't up to temperature. The car's just not working at that point. Okay, so we head up the hill here. Now, going uphill, you guys know that the secret or the tip is rev the gears out ever so slightly more uphill than you would going, planar or downhill. Downhill, you could afford to short shift a little bit, because you don't want to over rev. You're not taking advantage of the engine or the speed. But when you're going uphill, just rev them out ever so slightly. If your normal shift point, for example, is 11,000, maybe you want to shift at 11,150. You just want to give the car that chance to pull up the hill a little bit better. It's, a small tip, but in a sport measured and defined in tenths, no hundredths, no thousandth of a second, this surely matters. The ability to delay your upshifts ever so slightly up to Massenet is very important. A long corner in Massenet, so front grip is very important. The McLaren will be strong in such a corner, therefore. And how can I explain this corner? Wow. So you want to carry a lot of speed in, and there's a point in this corner where you just don't want to touch anything, right? The car's very loaded. The back and the front are on the absolute limit of grip. You've given it a bit of throttle in the middle. And like I say, there's a point at which you just don't touch anything. You just very gently put the throttle to the next part, get the car nice and straight and planar so that it can do a nice direction change into 4. Again, you turn into 4 and it's all momentum-based driving. So you've got to pick a point somewhere through Massenet where you get off the brakes and roll in with momentum. You're going downhill at this point as well. So because the car, you're asking it to do a lot of things, that is brake, turn, downshift, change direction, go, you're asking it to do 5 or 6 things at once. I think at that point, it's just important to get your hand, like don't touch the car. You know, get your hands off everything, get your feet off everything, and just let the car go through. That's probably the quickest way to get through there. But I think a lot of the work is really done on the entry to Massenet. The speed you carry in is what you're going to live with for momentum through there. So it's important to carry a lot in because you're going to burn and fade that speed off as Massenet unfolds and as you turn into Casino. Now with Casino, when you come over turn 4, there's a crest as well. So again, if you were to stand, say here, and look at turn 4 Casino, it kind of goes uphill and goes over a crest like that. So the car, that's your car, comes over this crest, and then the rear gets light over the top of that crest. So there's not much you can do about that. You know, the track is not favoring you. Dips are better than crest. But there is a crest here, and you just got to be mindful of it. You just, when you put your foot down, got to be all the usual traction management stuff. Deliver the throttle on nicely, open the steering wheel on the exit, short shift if you have to, map in a throttle shape that gives you a little bit more time and a little bit more length in the lower end of the throttle. These are the sort of things that you can play with. Again, the on throttle differential is helpful. You might want to tighten that up. And there's a difference here, right? Because you're coming through Massenet and I'm saying, okay, you want to get that rotation, you want to go in with the momentum, have the car rotate and change directions. That's when you might need the diff open. But funny, on the exit of Casino, that's when you're going to need to lock the diff as you go for the throttle over our crest friend here. So if you've got the time and you're good enough, the good drivers will be quickly flicking the diff up a few clicks as they enter into 4, because they know that the throttle on the exit is going to be a problem. There is lap time here. Again, in a sport told in tenths, no hundredths, no thousandths of a second, this surely matters. All right. Now we're heading into Mirabeau. Downhill braking into Mirabeau. I'm going to draw your attention to the downhill braking at Mirabeau and the difference between that and the downhill braking into the Nouvelle Chicane turn 10. Very different downhill braking situations. Now this corner, Mirabeau, I don't know how to pronounce the last part. Mirabeau, do I try it? Mirabeau hat. I'm going to call it hat. Someone help me in the comments, in the chat. Mirabeau hat? I don't know. I need Charles or someone to help me here. The difference here versus the Nouvelle Chicane, both downhill braking events. So keep in mind the braking technique that I'm going to tell you here, and I'm going to tell you how it doesn't matter when you go braking downhill into the Nouvelle Chicane. So what happens when you go downhill into Mirabeau? The front tire goes in the air just at the apex here because the track really falls away at this point on the entry to Mirabeau. So there's like a bit of a rain gully or some sort of drainage that happens there. And the front right tire, if I just draw the 4 tires here, the front right tire, this one is no longer in contact with the ground. And that's not good when you want to take a right-hander into Mirabeau. So you've got to make up for that somehow. The implication of this front tire not being on the ground means your front grip is pretty much halved or thirded. Let's call it half, just to give you guys an example. So you've got to make up for this. How are you going to do that? Well, you're going to start to look at the rear. I mean, if your front tires aren't on the ground, you've got to start to look at the rear. So some of your friends now are going to be engine braking goes up. You're going to open your diff on the entry to just get the thing to go into Mirabeau. You're going to migrate rearwards as the corner unfolds. That would be helpful. Migrate your brake balance towards the rear. These are the things that you can do. And again, just timing of the downshifts and when you pull the downshifts is going to be very important as well. You probably maybe want to save them until you get to that point when the front tire is in the air, because you want to get that rotation. Now, I'll explain it to you better via image if I can, if you guys bear with me. Hopefully you can see that on the screen in front of you. So this is Lewis Hamilton. I don't know what year it is, 22 or 23 maybe. Turning into this corner that we're talking about here, Mirabeau. Check this out. This tire, the right front, it's in the air. It's not moving. It's not doing anything. He's locked it up actually. How do you know, Martin, that he's locked this one up? Well, look at these dots here. These are the dots, the tread dots that you see on the tire, and you'll only ever see them on the tire if it's locked up. So they're your tread dot indicators. You'll notice that these dots over here, they're not present on this tire. Why? Because this tire is rotating. So therefore we can't see the dots. But this tire, because it's in the air now and Lewis has locked it up, well, it's not doing anything. And yeah, it's not rotating. It's not even in contact with the ground. And so, like I said on the whiteboard before, trying to get rotation into Mirabeau is your priority. So that's another tip that I can give you guys as well. Jasmine, never like these corners. Or maybe, hopefully, sorry, if you know how to deal with them, we can learn to love them. T says, good eye. Yeah, I'm watching, mate. I'm watching what's going on here. All right, so that's the dramas into Mirabeau. So yeah, it's this tire's not doing anything. Now, downhill braking, what I want to highlight to you guys is, remember this, recall this corner, downhill braking, and we've got engine braking going up, migrate rearwards, brake balance rearwards, open the diff. We're trying to get rotation into here, right? It's going to be very different when we get into the Nouvelle chicane. So that's how you take that. That's how you take that corner, and that's how you solve problems. And a lot of it is about solving problems in practice, guys. You've got to just, given the tools that I have and the problems that I'm having, how can I get myself out of trouble here? That's all you're trying to do. Okay, cool. So important to straighten the steering wheel on the exit of Mirabeau as you head into the Lowe's hairpin. It's called on this track map as the Grand Hotel hairpin. I'm not sure why that is. I know it as the Lowe's hairpin. Not much you can really do here, to be honest. Once you've found your line and your technique and your car is at a full lock, you know, it's just important that you open the steering wheel super quickly on the exit and then switch across and feed the power in the best you can. I think that's the best advice I can give you guys there is, yeah, just feed the power in, straighten the steering wheel. Don't break traction on the exit. That's very important, right? Now there's a nice piece of pavement on the entry to turn 7 here, which I would encourage you take. I spoke about taking curbs in Imola a lot. The cars didn't want to do it. The drivers didn't want to do it. Alex Albon was the only one I saw all weekend take the chicanes and curbs with the correct technique in Imola. And unfortunately, it was on lap 62 and lap 63. Better late than never. So I want the drivers to be trying these curbs in practice. Again, don't take risks, but feel them out slowly, see how the car responds. But yeah, if you can take a bit of this pavement here at turn 7, I just feel like it straightens the car up nicely for the entry to 8. Now, in the entry to 8, just the exit's really important. You've got this long straight afterwards. So again, similar to Massenet over here, you want to just carry speed in and then just let the front do its thing. Try not to touch the car in the middle of this corner because you're waiting for it to turn. You're waiting for the car to get straight before you put your power down. Again, open the steering wheel, short shift, straight line traction, all the usual traction stuff that's going to get you out of Portier. And then we got the tunnel. Obviously, we go into the tunnel, the famous tunnel. And then we got the downhill braking into the Nouvelle chicane. This is where the downhill braking is. And this is where what I'm saying is completely different situation to what we saw in Mirabeau. So what I'm going to get you guys to think about now is the downhill braking and under rotation that we had here and the braking tools that we're going to recommend here. Here we said brake balance goes backwards, engine braking goes up, you know, the diff, you want to open up your diff, everything to get more rotation because that right front tire, remember this one here, not doing anything. So you can see the tread's not doing anything. So you want to get more rotation, make up for that. Now downhill here into the Nouvelle chicane, very different story. In fact, it's the rear stability that always seems to be a problem braking into the Nouvelle chicane. Even though it's downhill, both of them are downhill, but I'm going to explain to you why. Now Mirabeau's downhill is very progressive. Again, if you were to look at the track side on and have a look at the track profile, the downhill braking is like that into Mirabeau. Whereas the downhill braking into the Nouvelle chicane, it kind of goes like that. And I'm exaggerating for effect here, but this is your car. And this is your car. And again, guys, I'm exaggerating for effect. But as you come down here, what happens is the rear gets light. You're now coming over a crest, and the rear doesn't like that. So what has to happen here, the downhill braking in Mirabeau is very different to the downhill braking into the Nouvelle Chicane, just because of the nature of the downhillness, if that makes sense. So here you want brake balance forward, my friend. Give me some rear stability. I'm not going to ask too much of the rear. Engine braking, don't want to use it too much. Brake nice and progressively is always helpful to get the weight onto the front. In Monaco, I'd recommend that more generally, but I think this is the biggest call out. Brake balance has got to go forward. Now, there is late lockups that can happen here just before you turn into the Nouvelle Chicane. You can lock up the right front tire. So you can start the brake balance forward and then migrate it rearwards. I don't see a problem with that. But I think this is the most important part in order to avoid what can happen into this corner. I'm going to show you guys what can happen right now. So this is what can happen. This is Kimi Räikkönen in 2008. Hopefully with this image, even though we're not side on shot, this is a front on shot. Hopefully you can get an idea and a sense of the crest. I mean, compare the Red Bull to the Ferrari, like the difference in height, right? So because of this crest, that's what creates the rear instability. Now, who's got rear instability? Kimi Räikkönen does here, and lock the rears. So if you had to put the brake balance forward a little bit, as per my recommendation, he should be okay. Now, again, I just want to highlight to you guys the difference in downhill braking. Not all downhill brakings are the same. In this one, the front's not working because we've got this issue with the track falling away towards the apex. And in this one, downhill, we're going over this crest, we've got issues with the rear. So you've got to be switched on, you've got to know what you're looking at, you've got to know what your problem is before you try and solve it. Remember, a problem well defined is a problem half solved. And it's my job to do both, unfortunately, to find the problem and then solve it. So that's what I'm highlighting to you guys. So hopefully you could see the difference there in the Nouvelle Chicane. I'll go back to the track map here. And then, yeah, and then now we can start to talk about trying to take the Nouvelle Chicane. But as you can see, someone who asked the question before about the driver tools, as you can see, it's very important on this track. Okay, so Nouvelle Chicane. The problem with the Nouvelle Chicane is the turn 10 apex is a barrier. So if we draw in plan view, you head into the Nouvelle Chicane like that. It goes like that. There is no curb. So that's the wall there. So you've got to come in with your downhill braking and everything, and then you've got to go around this part. And the key here is, at this point, a nice big armful of direction change, because you want to unload the inside front, make contact with this curb here, and then get on throttle and go out. So I think the most important thing is a big switch of the hands in the middle. And what you're trying to do there is get the load off the right-hand front tire and get it onto the left-hand front tire. So if I just draw the 4 tires here, again in plan view, as you turn in to this part, the left-hander, then this tire is loaded. And we don't want that because we want to make contact with this curb. So by switching your hands very quickly, you put the load on this tire, this one becomes unloaded, bang, it can make contact with the Nouvelle Chicane curb. That's how that one's done. So then it's all about traction on the way out. Become a little bit bumpy as you make contact with this curb. You've got to wait a second just for the car to resettle, get the steering wheel straight, and then drive out. To back now. Very challenging corner on this racetrack, one of the most challenging. Again, like I said before, with the Nouvelle Chicane, the entry apex is a wall, and that's always a challenge. To back goes something like this, and then this is a wall here, your apex here. That's a challenge. Hitting your apex means hitting the wall. If you don't want to hit your apex, just go around to back is most important. It's very dusty on the exit of to back as well. It's a very dusty over here. You're coming in this way. And it's, just important that you stay off the sand and everything that's over here. So there will be a racing line that forms. There will be a lot of sand that forms over the weekend there as well, just dust and rubbish. So there is a very single line through the swimming pool and everything. But the challenge with Tabac is, one, the apex is the wall, and two, there's a lot of sand on the outside as well. So it's just minimal steering open up the entry as much as possible, steer in as minimal as possible, feed the power on, keep the downforce active, keep the minimum speed high, keep the car flat and settled all the way through here. That's the best you can do with tobacco. There's not really much braking technique going on per se. Hopefully the swimming pool turn 13 and 14 is flat. If it's not flat, the only thing you need to do is give it a lift. That's fine. Even in the race, I would encourage the drivers to give it a lift here, because why not? You don't need to take it flat, but probably it'll be flat, I suspect. We'll see. I think it'll be flat. We'll check in the telemetry later if that one's flat. Actually, why don't we do that now quickly and see what happened in 2024 if it was flat. If you guys bear with me, I'll bring up the telemetry. We'll have a look at it together and see if it was flat. Why not? All right, can you guys see that? So 2024, Monaco, quali, Leclerc, fastest lap. Swimming pool, here. Yeah, it's flat. Cool. So I'll zoom in on the section. So my white line down the page, I'm looking at the second row, the throttle trace. That straight line means Charles has got his foot flat and he lifts out of it for braking into the turn 15 where Max crashed. Cool. Cool. So it'll be flat. All right. So that's flat. That's easy. And then we go into 15 and 16. So really important that when you come through the swimming pool, I'll zoom in for you guys so you can see it. When you come in the swimming pool, really important that you just get the car straight and settled. There's a curb here, and if you touch it at that speed and the car might get unsettled, the last thing you want to do is brake into 15 with that steering on or with that instability or with the car not quite settled and ready for that turn 15 braking and entry. This is where I think all the lap time is. I called it out before, guys. I think it's all here. I think it's all on the entry to 15. That's where you can find so much lap time. That's where Max crashed before, guys, in 2018. That's where you see a lot of drivers crashing. Again, the problem with 15, if I draw it in plan view, is that the apex is the wall. And hitting the apex means hitting the wall. And it's a problem, like as a driver, it's going to be a problem because you want to hit the apex. You don't want to hit the wall. So you don't have much choice. There's just the barrier here and the apex is the wall, like I say, just through here. That's where Max crashed, right front tire into here. It's very easily done. And it is really hard because you're turning in, you're making a prediction for how much grip you think there's going to be. And by the time you know how your prediction went, you either got it right or you got it wrong. There's no chance for that feedback loop to come. And so you've got to be very switched on every time you turn the car into 15. Am I on the trajectory that I want? Do I need to open the steering or do I need to add more steering? Was the prediction that I made for the front grip that the car is going to have, was that right or wrong? You need to work that out in a matter of thousandths of a second as you turn into 15. This is the most important corner on the racetrack, guys, for lap time and for danger. Turn 15, the entry to the chicane here. Now, look, if you get 15 right, same sort of thing happens as the Nouvelle chicane. A big switch of your hands. Try to unload that left front tire as quickly as possible because you want to make contact with the curb there at 16. I'll just see if there's a photo of it with Max. That would be great. Yeah, here we go. I'll bring it up for you guys. Where is it? Images. Okay, here we go. So yeah, look, obviously, so what happened with Max? Here, well, go back. So he hit this wall here on the left. You guys can see it, that barrier, which is the apex. He hit that, broke the track rod, broke the suspension, couldn't turn anymore, and then ended up going flying over this yellow curb. So don't worry, this is not Max's mistake. Max's mistake was back here, hitting this wall on the top left of your screen. Now with this curb, what I'm saying is a quick armful of lock direction change has to happen so that you just brush this yellow curb. It looks extremely high. I would not want to get onto it fully, completely. I think that would be slower. I don't want to go completely around and respect it too much. I just want to get the left front to just bump in with this area just here. Actually, you see where it's missing a little bit of paint? Exactly. There you go. There's an insight. That little bit of paint It's not all the way up the curb because I think it's too steep. And it is the exit curb in a chicane. You don't normally want to try to touch the exit curbs. So I think it's like you definitely don't want to be using it. And if you are using it, it's just going to be a brush, guys. It just needs to be a brush. But I think the most important thing is you do a good job of unloading the left front tire, this one over here. Unload that one so it can just ride that one nice and compliantly. That's what I'm looking for in that chicane. Cool. Okay, we're nearly done. Braking into Rascasse. Give me a sec. I'll show you guys where we are. La Rascasse. Braking into Rascasse, you're braking from very low speed, and with low speed comes low downforce. So you can see a lot of clumsy sort of crashes around here because the car is not generating any downforce or much downforce, sorry, and therefore it just becomes clumsy. So again, the same things that we've been talking about around the track. Engine braking is your friend. Brake balance, rearwards is your friend. They're probably your two biggest friends, I guess. And progressive braking is the most powerful one, which goes without saying, is your friend as well into turn 17. I feel like if you can take a nice wide line on entry and use the steering wheel to slow the car down, that's helpful. Because it is these two apexes here do form one long corner of constant radius, and just winding the steering on and cranking it on and using that as part of your braking, the steering to do some of your braking, is actually a really powerful tool to help you get around there quickly. Because then you haven't touched any of the pedals during the way through the corner, and now all you got to do is get the steering wheel straight and nail the throttle. Now in qualifying, it might be quicker to just nail the throttle. In the race, you probably don't want to do that, but it might be quicker to just, rev the car there, and again lift, downshift, and again you're coming over a crest here, so the track goes up and then down as you come over Anthony Nose corner 18 and 19. So again, traction is a problem in qualifying, guys. I think ugly is quick here. Just squirt the throttle, get it in, squirt the throttle again, straighten the wheel, and just go to the line. I think if you're too neat here, it just will be. If you're too neat and too conservative, you'll be doing an Oscar Piastri. You'll be leaving lap time on the table here, guys. So you don't want to do that. You've got to give everything, fight and compete. Obviously, too much wheel spin here is not going to give you forward movement and forward momentum. I get it. But on the scale, down the middle being 0, this being aggressive wheel spin, and this being passive over here, what I'm saying to you guys is, come this way. Be slightly on the aggressive side of neutral. I think that's going to be much better than being on the passive side. There's lap time across here. Cool. Does that make sense? Clear as mud? I hope that makes sense, guys. I know I spent a lot of time on the Monaco track and how to drive it, but that's good. Like, remember, pole is approximately equal to a race win. So I hope that makes sense. If you had any questions, we'll ask them a little bit later. I'm going to just quickly talk about strategy and compounds and predictions. We'll skim through this part pretty quickly, and then I'll get on to your questions. Okay, so the strategy. Let's have a quick look at that in the tire compounds. Like I say, we'll whiz through this quickly, guys, because I think it's going to be, that's not that important. So the compounds, bring up the images. Okay, so for the second consecutive race, Pirelli selected the 3 softest compounds, C4, C5, and C6. Just while we're on that, I called out in FP3 in Imola, maybe the C5 is the tire to qualify on, and the C6 might overheat. That might be a thing again this weekend, guys. Remember I spoke about the practice and the work that you need to do on the light fuel and the C6 or C5 tire? That's what I'm looking for. Who really understands the qualifying tire the best? Is it the C5? Is it the C6? In what conditions? I'd be running both and practicing them both in FP2 and getting feedback on that, because that C6 would be very easy for that to overheat and not give you any grip in the final sector, as we saw in Imola. This weekend, we'll see an important change to the regs. The 2 pit stops, we already covered that. Cool. So they're the compounds. And look, the strategy, honestly, with the 2-stop rule and everything, I'm not sure if you're a front runner. If you're, let's say, on pole, just mirror, I guess. There's no point in you pitting out into traffic. You're just going to have to be the last one to pit, unfortunately, and just mirror everything behind you. It's very unlikely that someone's going to undercut you from deep inside the midfield. That won't happen. So that's the way to do it. If you're starting at the front, is just wait and mirror what's going on. I think so. That would be the strategy. Just wait and see. Just on predictions, I want to call out the Ferrari does have really good traction, and traction is very important here. If we just go back to the track map quickly, if I can just highlight to you some of the traction events around this track, I'll just clean all this up and see how many we have. Okay, turn one, maybe it's a mild traction event. It's not super important, but it's there's traction here. So 1, 4 we spoke about, the crest. I think 8 traction is important. 11 traction is going to be important. Back, not so much. I think the car's too loaded for traction to be an issue. And Raskas. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 key traction events. So traction is very important. I think the Ferrari does have strong traction. Remember George Russell in China, the increasing radius corner coming onto the back straight in China. George was like, man, that Ferrari Leclerc's got so much traction, and he was just pulling away, and George couldn't get close. So I think keep an eye out for Ferrari being competitive this weekend. Williams have got great curb riding ability. Remember Alex Albon in Imola was riding the curbs beautifully. If I still have that video, I'd love to show you just quickly. Give me a sec. How nicely the Williams rides the curbs. Yeah, I do still have that video. Give me a sec. I'll show you how nicely the Williams was riding the curbs. Here it is. So Alex taking the entry curb, lovely. He's using the correct technique finally in this Grand Prix, but the Williams is nice and compliant on the entry curb. So that's important. That characteristic is something we're going to be testing here in Monaco. So that's where that's going to be helpful this weekend. I'm just reading the chat, guys. Oh, I think you guys are right, actually. Just as I pause this. Sorry, the Mercedes has good traction. So was it Leclerc following Russell? Yeah, you guys are right. So that's exactly the opposite. Are you guys saying that it was Leclerc following George Russell and Leclerc saying that the Mercedes has, yeah, there you go. Bang. That's the one. Charles was saying that Russell has good traction. Thank you. You guys are keeping me switched on. Thank you for that. So therefore, I think it's the Mercedes that's going to go well this weekend once we test traction. So we'll keep an eye out for that on the F1 tempo and check the way the Mercedes is getting out of some of these traction zones. But the Ferrari, then I'm not sure. Maybe they're not going to have a strong weekend. Jasmine says, yeah, it's the Mercedes. Okay, the Mercedes has got good traction, so that's going to be helpful. Remember, Kimi Antonelli put it on pole in Miami. There's all those slow speed, clumsy curbs and traction events on that low grip Miami circuit. So potentially Mercedes for a strong weekend. Let's see. But I just wanted to call out how nicely the Williams is riding the curbs here as well. So I've got my eye on Mercedes for traction. I've got my eye on Williams for the curbs. Beautiful. Have a look at the way that Williams takes the entry curb. Look at this. Check this out. There it is. Lovely. Look at that. The car's so nice and settled. Beautiful technique there from Alex Albon. So, I've got half an eye on Williams, half an eye on Mercedes, and of course the usual suspects, McLaren. So sorry for that mix-up. Turn 1, lap 1, and the race restarts. I mean, turn 1, just get a good start. Really, there's not much that I can talk to you about, the dirty line or the line that gets cleaned up as we had in Imola. Defending into turn 1, I don't think is a big thing. I think it's just going to be get off the line, stay out of trouble, take the lead and go on. And as for restarts, again, it's just going to be, there's going to be no strategy to it really. Resume the race, don't stick it in the wall, and away you go. Okay, cool. So I know we've been speaking for a little while. Sorry, I wanted to cover all of that stuff. But yeah, I'll take a few of your questions. We'll go for another 5 minutes or so, and then we'll wrap up. Hopefully I haven't missed a super chat. Yeah, okay. I'm just reading your questions now. Oh, what have we got coming in here? Thomas, for practice, surely it's quite important to know the time delta between the compounds for undercutting during the race. Look, if we're talking, there's two different races going on. There's the front runners and then the midfield. If you're a front runner, like you're not gonna, a new set of tires will help you, I think. Like regardless of what it is, almost. The tires are so soft. It's soft or very soft. A new tire will help you. The problem is whether or not you can use that and who you're going to get stuck behind. It's more got to do with where you drop out than it has to do with the tire's performance that you're going to switch on. If you've got pace and you can't use it, that information is not helpful. You want your GPS open. You want to see where you're going to drop out. You don't want the mechanics to make any problems with the pit stops. Track position is more important than the overall lap time. The lap time's got to come in qualifying. So I think it would be more important to know the time delta between the compounds for qualifying for maximum optimal. It might not necessarily be the C6. Remember last week, Alonso on the medium did a good job. George Russell on the medium did a good job. That's where I think the homework needs to be done, Thomas. I hope that makes sense. Burak, any news on upgrades this weekend? Not that I know of. I mean, Red Bull had their little side pod thing. Ferrari had a lot of new parts come to Imola. I think as we started the new European season, a lot of updates last weekend, as you probably know. Not that I know of. George, who in your opinion has the best driver mentality from the rookies? Ooh, not Franco. I liked Liam's mentality, I have to be honest. Liam was coming in saying, I'm not here to finish second. I'm a racing driver. I should be able to adapt to any car that I get given. I'm racing against Max. It's great that I get an ability to learn from him. But I think that correct mentality was coupled with arrogance, unfortunately, I guess, or a lack of talent. I did like Liam's mentality. I do like Liam's mentality. Everything he says is correct. The lap time wasn't there, unfortunately. So I liked Liam's mentality. I like Kimi Antonelli's mentality as well. I think he's coming in with an open mind, coming in with curiosity, coming in with willingness to learn. As an 18-year-old Formula One driver for Mercedes, I think that is the only mentality. He's not coming in with an ego. He's learning from George. I think that's the correct one. So it'd be between Liam's mentality and Kimi Antonelli's mentality. If I can call Liam a rookie, if you'll allow me to. I guess he hasn't really done a full season proper. Look, but I'm sure they're all okay at this point. Bortoletto, good mentality. Hadjar's been doing great recently. Who else are we talking about? Doohan, unfortunately, the talent wasn't there. The driving technique wasn't there. You guys may have seen that video, what the secret reasons why Jack Doohan was sacked. I speak about his technique. I think his mentality was fine as well. I think they've all been okay. We can't speak about mentality and not put Lando in there, unfortunately. Despite not being a rookie, I think he has the worst mentality on the grid, unfortunately, for Lando. Benzi. Whoever has the lowest 5-lap total wins. We should look at that in terms of this weekend's cumulative fastest 5 quali race. What do you mean? What are you guys talking about? I'm not sure. Whoever has the lowest 5-lap total wins. I'm not sure what it means. Sorry, mate. Yesterday, all the drivers had private F1 movie screening. Max was iRacing, public lobbies, top mentality. Yeah, Max has got the best mentality. Yeah. Have you guys heard the quote that I said? So Max has a lion painted on the top of his helmet. And I read you guys out a quote, I think it was last year. And I said, like, the elephant is the biggest in the jungle, but it's not the strongest or something. Or the cheetah is the fastest. There was all these animals that have their own. And then I went on to say that, but what makes the lion the king of the jungle? If he's not the biggest, he's not the fastest, and he's not the strongest. Mentality. The lion is the king of the jungle because of its mentality. And with Max having the lion painted on his helmet, I see correlation there. I see Max has the mentality. You know, obviously he's the fastest and the strongest and whatever in terms of Formula One. Like he's got those skills, but he's also got that mentality. Like no, I'm the king of the jungle here. So I like that about Max. Yeah, Max wasn't there. Yeah, Max has got the best mentality, guys. Like bar none. I'll take a few more questions for a couple of minutes. Robbie, hey Martin, hope the stream has been good. Yeah, good. We covered the track map. We covered how to build a weekend, the mentality, the mindset. We covered the downhill braking zones and the difference there. So far, so good. Audrey, what driving style shines the most in Monaco? Something patient. Honestly, something patient, something progressive, something that you would think that you need to attack the racetrack and get in and get involved. But with so much going on with cambers and dips and crests and suspension travel and braking and downshifting and cornering and throttle and steering wheel and curbs and this and that, it's really just about not touch the car too much. Don't upset the balance of the car while it resettles over things like bumps and crests and dips and cambers and elevations. Just let the car be and just try to float it through the track. If you can be patient and progressive, means progressive braking. I want aggressive downshifting. Yes, smash the gears down quickly. Use that. That's your friend. But I think progressive braking, progressive throttle, and patience plus progressiveness is the best driving styles. Who has that is probably your next question. I think they all can do it. They're going to have to do it if they want to be quick here. I'm not sure. I mean, we're testing a very niche set of skills here in Monaco. I mean, Max surely is very good, obviously, but to be honest, I wouldn't be sure who has that. Maybe Isaac Hadjar has that. He's very soft, very smooth inputs, very progressive with the car, particularly his steering, which is nice to see. And we spoke about being progressive with the steering, particularly into Rascasse. Isaac will have a nice technique there. So yeah, that's progressive and patience. Jordan Hill, do you think this is a good opportunity for a team like Williams or Alpine to get pole since the only lap pace is so close between the teams? Sorry, sometimes I can't read when I'm trying to do two things at once. Yes, this is a good opportunity for Williams. Maybe not Alpine. I don't think they have. And look, maybe not Williams to get pole because Alex and Carlos, maybe they're not going to pull it out. It's possible. I think the car's got capability to be on pole. The way it rides the curbs in Imola is like the best on the grid. So yes, there is an opportunity there. Whether or not Carlos or Alex can pull that out remains to be seen. But yes, my eye is on Williams. Like I said, was on Williams, Mercedes for their traction, of course the McLaren for front grip, and of course Max as well. So yeah, it's a good opportunity. This is a good question. Such a 5 fastest laps would be much more exciting for driving on the limit. Benzi, I'm not sure what you're talking about with this 5 fastest laps thing. Sorry, mate. Okay, I'm going to take one more question if it comes in, and then we will pack up. Harry Poppins, has Oscar surpassed Lando or Lando regressed since last year? This was a question someone else asked on your post that is suggested for the stream. Thank you for asking it because it slipped my mind. So I think there's a few factors going on. Oscar is in his 3rd year of Formula One. He's doing one of these. He's trending up. Lando's in his 7th year in Formula One. He's trending sideways, or his mentality potentially sometimes trends him down. But I think now we've got a new car as well. We've got the MCL 39. It's got a lot of front grip. We've seen Lando struggle with this car, and hopefully I can bring up some examples of Lando struggling with this car. That would be great if I can. Bear with me. Yes, I can. Give me a sec. It'll be video small. This one. So maybe not this one. Sorry. Give me a sec. It's this one. So here's Lando in Bahrain testing. He turns in and the rear gets away from him. And everyone was saying, this is rear instability from the McLaren. No, it's not. It's mega front end grip. The front is so good that as it comes over the crest, it just pulls the rear around here. This Lando turns in. He hasn't done anything wrong for the rear to let go. And I was saying everyone's got their eyes on the rear instability. It's the wrong place to be looking. It's the front end of the McLaren is where you want to be looking. The anti-dive characteristics, creating mega front end downforce is what's going on here. So that's that in Bahrain. I'll show you guys that he was having the same issue in China. Lando turns into turn one and the back just gets away from him once again. As he turns in, see that quick input, guys, and I'll just slow it down for you. Give me a sec. Watch the steering wheel here. Watch where it goes from there. Lando turns it in quite quickly. There, that input just there. You might have to watch that back a few times. But the steering rate, here again, when Lando just goes to ask it for that extra bit of steering, he's not patient with the front end of the car. Just let it turn in, massage the car nicely into the corner. Lando's putting in a slightly quicker steering inputs than Oscar Piastri. That's why he's struggling with the front end of this McLaren. And it's a good problem to have. Like, you'd rather have a surplus of front grip than you would a deficit of front grip. So that's what I wanted to highlight to you guys. Now that you mentioned the question, has Oscar surpassed Lando? Has Lando regressed? I think Lando's mentality is not great, so naturally that's not good. Also, he doesn't gel naturally with this car. He's got a quicker hands, whereas Oscar's a bit slower with his hands. That's more helpful. He's just a little bit more patient with the car. And there's a combination of those things happening with Oscar maturing, with Oscar getting better. Lando, obviously, he's good. Lap time is quick. He's just not a natural gel for this car. But now on the back of that, he starts to doubt himself. And, you know, there's all that Lando talk going on. He's really like hard on himself. And I've got a short out on this, which I'd recommend you see on YouTube. And it's Lando's mentality and how it's almost like self-sabotage. It's really bad. So there's that. But I think it's the driving techniques not being a match. Oscar's hands versus Lando's hands. Oscar growing in terms of his experience, and Oscar's mentality versus Lando's mentality. Those are the 3 or 4 factors at play, which means that Oscar's got the upper hand in the championship at the moment. Okay, guys, thank you so much for coming to the live stream. Remember, we've got the pre-race show. We'll grab a drink. We'll sit down. We'll discuss qualifying. We'll see who put together the weekend, who put together the pole lap. We'll go over the pole lap on the telemetry as well. So thank you guys for coming to this live stream. Yeah, if you're new here, please subscribe to this channel. It helps the channel moving forward. If you are watching this video, do me a favor and just comment the video, something you learned or a question you had. That would be great. And if I didn't get to it in the chat, or try to get to it in the comments of this video, that would be great. And I look forward to telling you everything that I see, all the driving techniques this weekend. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.